Me and her horns.
At least the bird in my background stopped chirping.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, bird chirping is pretty though.
It was annoying as shit.
Let me. Okay. Oh, I should have put on a darker headscarf. It's like blending in with the background because it's white-ish. I think.
Yep.
Oh well, we're here now.
Doesn't matter to me.
Nothing really matters. Anyone can see except for us because we're all blind.
Yeah.
Remix.
And we're recording. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I love every week when I get to talk to you three.
Yay!
Right? And we
We
have
love being here.
we don't have a guest, so it's just us, and I like that even more.
Same. Sometimes I get excited for the weeks we don't have a guest. I know that sounds bad, but I mean it with the best.
Good intentions.
Yeah, good intentions.
Yeah, I love it. So what's going on in this week?
What's going on? Nothing.
Yeah.
Who's got the news?
I've
Nobody.
Our,
Because
our,
I didn't do shit all week.
our episode our episode with Daisy is coming out tomorrow. Which wait, no, it's coming out last week because this is next Thursday. So
Right.
Our episode with Daisy is out.
Came out last Thursday.
Right? We've been a week ahead, and every podcaster always wants to be a week or two ahead, with episodes in the bank. But we just started like a week ahead for some reason, and we've never fallen behind. That's so cool.
Good. Let's keep it that way.
Right. Yeah. But that means if we skip a week, we won't skip a beat. You know what I mean? Which is cool. I love that.
We'll be right on time.
Right on time.
So, guys, okay, let's get into it. Question.
Let's do it.
I know you guys heard about the Demi Lovato situation, right?
Yes.
And her disability, her eating disorder, right?
Yes.
How do we feel? I'm gonna let y'all go first, and then I'm gonna tell y'all how I feel.
Yeah.
Y'all don't want me to go because I will bash the shit out of her.
I kind of did too when I talked to Brittany last night about it.
Okay, listen, I understand she has an addiction problem. I'm very well aware. I've watched both documentaries she's come out with. I've watched every episode of this latest one. And
might I add, she also has vision issues, but we'll talk about that later. Go ahead.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So yeah. Well, so basically in this new documentary she put out, and if people don't know, she overdosed a little over 2 years ago. It was right when I lost my vision. And I've always followed her addiction story because I'm very interested in things like that, just because of my family members and people that I've been close with and all of that. But I have very, very strong opinions because she is supposed to be a role model. And the way she handled this froyo thing pisses me off.
The Big Chill in LA.
Yeah.
Is that what it was called?
That's the name of the yogurt shop.
And they've been around for years, 50, 60 years.
Yeah, they're like a.
You know what's funny to me? Oh, I'm sorry, Shy.
No, I was just agreeing with Jason. Like they're like a classic froyo spot.
You know what's funny to me? Ever since she did this, okay, for those of you who don't know, because we just got into it.
Yeah, I don't know anything about Demi Lovato except a 3-minute video I watched on YouTube last night. So fill me in.
I love her voice. Okay, so what happened was she got into a big disagreement publicly on Instagram, I believe, with the Big Chill. She doesn't agree with diet culture, and she has an eating disorder. And she went in the yogurt shop, and she was triggered by the fact that everything said sugar-free, guiltless cookie, diet. She didn't like the wording. So she's all like, man, I didn't get my yogurt because I was triggered. Okay.
Wow.
that's the gist of it, pretty much. So she gets on social media, she bashes them, she tries to bring them down. They so they have an exchange,
Right.
and the the yoga shops like we're sorry you feel that way. We're not diet culture vultures or whatever that she called them.
I don't
And then
think they
she
are, by the way. I didn't from their recipes and stuff. I
uh
don't think they're doing that purposely.
right. So she was like, I'm the customer, I'm always right. You guys just need to do better. I'm paraphrasing, of course. And then the yoga shop just kind of like just didn't say anything, but they would repost other people bashing her and kind of like throw shade.
Ah,
So they're like, Demi, shut up. Just like leave it alone, stop talking. Like, why are you going back and forth with them? Like, just stop. Her intentions were good. They were good intentions.
Mm-hmm.
When I further dug into the story last night, because I started doing some more searching about it, I understand what she's saying. Because me being plus size and growing up plus size, and it's always you need to lose weight, diet this, diet that, and it could become unhealthy. But there's bulimia and all those eating disorders,
Anorexia.
and yeah.
yeah.
So like it can possibly turn into that. Now, sugar free. Well, how the hell else are they supposed to know the cookie has no sugar? Like it's okay for it to say sugar free. Now, what I do agree with her on is they said the cookies they say guiltless. Well, you're implying that I'm going to feel guilty after I eat this cookie.
Wow,
You
that's
know what I'm saying?
interesting. Yeah.
Why does it
So,
need not like because I agree with you there, because that's not an actual like technical word food description. Like sugar
right.
free, those are important information. It's important information that people need to know. But
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
free, why? Like, why do you like you're implying that I would normally feel guilty about this cookie, but because it has whatever you put in it or didn't put in it,
Mm-hmm.
like I won't feel guilty. Like that's stupid. That's unnecessary.
Exactly.
I'd like to
So,
know what section it's in because honestly, if it's a guilt-free, gluten-free cookie, then I could kind of get that. Or like Caitlin and I are diabetic. If it's in the diabetic section as a guilt-free substitute for your regular sugar-free stuff, I could get that too. But if it's just like a froyo type of thing that's guilt-free, then I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Feels like
yeah.
Yeah.
but the way she handled it is
Mm.
really stupid. And I love Demi. I've been a fan of her forever, and she obviously has issues, right? Like she's been dealing with the addiction and the eating disorder, and she was super sheltered and overprotected by the people who care about her when it came to
Mm-hmm.
food. Like if you watch the documentary, they even say like the crew couldn't eat certain things around her.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was very she was very like protected because they didn't want her to, you know,
Get
have
triggered.
exactly. And so I think she's, taking charge of her own whatever. She's less controlled now, and she needs to understand the fact that the world is not gonna protect her the way
Yep.
her people did. Like no one else is worried about your issue, ma'am.
Yep.
Nobody.
So you're gonna need to figure out how to deal with the things that trigger you. You're yourself because no one else cares, and how it works for everyone. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care who knows you, who loves you, whatever. No one gives. The world doesn't care about you. That's how.
Look at us.
Right.
They don't give a shit.
But there is ways in which she would have a say, and that would be if she made an arrangement with them to be seen there every week, or if she was an ambassador for the product, she might have more say. But I'm just thinking, what does she do when she goes into Publix for some fried chicken,
Exactly.
Is she triggered down every aisle? And that worries me.
Exactly. This is where I disagree with all of you when the guiltless. First of all, that's how they want to advertise. That's their choice. Also, the world doesn't revolve around people with eating disorders, alcohol problems, drug addiction problems. I am so sorry that you get triggered, but if you have no self-control, or if you're trying to gain self-control, or you're easily triggered by something, don't surround yourself with it. I absolutely do not feel bad for people that put themselves in shitty situations knowing they could possibly be triggered because they think for some reason they have self-control, when it's been proven that she has no self-control over her addiction problems. Take accountability. I don't play with that shit. I don't, because that's not what they teach you in rehab. They're not like, hey, we understand that you're a drug addict and most of your friends like to, rail lines of cocaine every night. Well, you should probably still go hang out with them to see if you're still tempted or not. You should still go surround yourself with that, even though it might trigger you. You might relapse, but since society's doing it, you should go just be around it anyway. Or that's her walking up into a restaurant and sitting at a bar and eating and being fucking pissed off that the restaurant is serving alcohol, even though she can't drink it. The world doesn't revolve around you. I am so sorry, but don't be around it if it's going to trigger you. Take control. Be self-aware. Take accountability. That's bullshit. That is and don't try me because I'm a type 1 diabetic. That would be me going up into a restaurant and looking at a dessert menu and telling everybody at the table, I'm fucking offended because they sell dessert here and everybody at this table is not allowed to get tiramisu because I'm not allowed to have a bite of it. Fuck that. Think about that.
But what if one of the desserts was called Caitlin's going to be fat and ugly if she eats it?
Thank you, Jason. That's my point. Like,
okay, but they advertise that for a reason because there are people that cannot have gluten or sugar. So that's the way they advertised their cookie or whatever the fuck was in that froyo shop. First of all, the thing that pisses me off about her is that she's this big role model for people that have addiction problems, but she is using this as a fucking example. Bitch, the world doesn't revolve around you. Get the fuck over yourself. If you're going to be triggered by it, don't surround yourself with it. You're teaching people to look up to you as a role model, and you're teaching them, one, not to take accountability, point the fucking finger at somebody else because you're triggered by the way that they did something that you don't fucking like. Get the fuck over it. I don't play with that shit. I don't. You're playing the fucking victim. You're not a victim when you put yourself in that situation. That's not how that works. Absolutely not.
Where I disagree with, like, okay, sugar-free, cool. That's how they advertise it. But I understand the guiltless, and I'm going to tell you why. Like the same thing with us in our blind community. Like, we're trying to gain traction. The LGBTQ, we're trying to get the world to understand. So she was trying to get the world to understand that guiltless, like, it didn't say gluten-free, it said guiltless.
The way she handled it, Brittany, was I'm going to put the finger and then just started bashing the shit out of them and pointing the finger and playing the fucking victim.
Well, yes, she did handle it wrong.
In her defense, a lot of the conversation that they did have was in DMs. It wasn't out on the post.
She posted them.
Yeah, that's not good. My mom always taught me if you have a problem with somebody, meet them one-on-one and talk about it. And then work it out before you tell everybody else, because you're gonna look like an idiot sometimes.
And she made an ass of herself.
Kind of.
We're all agreeing that the way she handled the situation is 100%.
Right.
I think where there's gray area is in the specific label of guilt-free.
Yeah. Yes. It's like skinny cow, right?
Yeah, like skinny cow.
It's an ice cream brand. It's the truth. Or like skinny girl wine. So now she's fucking offended because people are like, oh, there's 2 carbs in this bottle of wine and it says skinny on it for skinny girls. Shut up.
But the same way we don't like certain things that people say and do about the blind community, it's the same thing. Like, why does it have to say skinny? Why can't it just say 2 cow?
Or like even when it comes to, I think Brittany brought this up in a video, when it comes to like wigs and the way wigs are labeled, this is obviously divulging, but diverging, not divulging. The way that wigs are labeled, like it always has to say blah blah blah, curly, straight, whatever description.
For Black women. What?
Why? Other women wear wigs. Like men wear wig. Why does it have to say for Black women? That's so unnecessary. It makes no sense to put that on the wig description. It's not necessary.
So, maybe because they're advertising to Black women to wear those wigs.
But
it's something that's an option
anyway.
But
okay, so when you right, okay, but here's the thing. Same with the skinny girl wine or the fucking guiltless, whatever you want to call it, right? They're also saying, hey, this is a dessert. This is a bottle of wine. This is something for there's an option for everybody because dieting is a thing. People are on diets.
Mm-hmm.
Now Demi is comparing herself with an eating disorder to people that are dieting or that are watching either their weight or their intake of sugar and carbs and all this other shit for their body. And she's comparing her eating disorder to people that are losing weight for themselves. And brands are gearing and advertising that they are making things for people that are on a diet or watching their weight or watching what they're putting in their body, because that is a big fad. She's comparing her eating disorder to people that are watching what they eat. It's very different, you guys. It's different.
Mm-hmm.
So
No,
that's my issue with it. That is my issue with it.
I think if you say skinny girl wine, you're kind of implying that other wines are going to make you fat.
exactly.
And I think that's the problem when you could just say diet wine.
Thank you. That's what I'm like. Just say 2-cal wine. Why can't I just say 2-cal? Why does it have to say skinny?
Because they're advertising for people. You guys have to understand when you're building a business or a market or whatever it is that you're doing, right? And you're trying to sell a product, you pick an audience. It's not like, oh, this is going to be for these type of people, and these type of people. Right. You pick one target audience. That's what they're doing. So that skinny girl wine is targeted for women that are watching their weight, that are on a diet. That's why they do that, because they picked an option for women to drink and not have to feel like, like it's a better option for them to drink while they want to, instead of having this beer that has 50 carbs in it, here's an option for you. That's their target audience. Mm-hmm. That's fair. They're allowed to do that. And if you get offended by that, you are a part of the cancel culture and it makes no fucking sense. They're allowed to target their own audience for their own product. They're allowed to do that. And if you are offended by that, what the fuck?
Okay.
What the fuck?
But
honestly.
White Claw is better than that 50 calorie beer, and they don't market it as skinny. And they still sell a shitload of White Claw. You know what I mean?
Because go ahead, sorry.
I feel like there's definitely an argument for that, right? Like,
oh yeah,
marketing is marketing, right? They're targeting a certain audience. That's the whole point of the marketing, right? Mm-hmm. But some of it is like a little silly and a little, like, for example, and this is, I don't know how much this relates. It relates in my head. You guys tell me if it makes sense. There are like things like ice cream and fruit and like popsicles and stuff that will have the gluten-free label on them. Uh-huh. There's no gluten comes from wheat product, right?
Right.
You don't need to put a gluten-free label on a damn popsicle.
You're right.
Well, how are they supposed to know if it's gluten-free?
It's a popsicle.
Because people actually have allergies to gluten.
No, I understand that, but it's a popsicle. There's no wheat product in a popsicle. It's
I'm slow.
No. That's not true. That's not true to all popsicles. That is not true. Because you think a regular popsicle is ice with some flavoring on it. That's not. Did you know that in like certain dressings, there's wheat in certain like foods that you eat? There is wheat in it. That's not like gluten is not just. I mean, yes, it comes from wheat, but it's like the product or how they make it. Like that's not. You'd be very surprised at how much gluten is in a lot of the things that we eat. That's not true. Right. There are very much popsicles, and just like sugar-free, there's sugar in it, you guys. It's not that it's, or like no sugar added, there's sugar in it. I'm a diabetic. I've been doing this since I was 8 years old.
And they removed the sugar and put in the gluten to call it light, you know.
And that's what I mean. So they're replacing it with something, or they're putting a lower amount in it. Like if you look at things that say sugar-free, I promise you there's still sugar in it.
Yeah. Of
so
course.
Then they're lying. That's false advertising.
Well, because some of it doesn't make, like I've seen a gluten-free label on a banana before.
Right, that's so silly.
It's a banana. I feel like they're just marketing to people who, because I know there are people with celiac who actually have an intolerance to gluten. But then there are also people who just don't eat gluten because they think it's healthier or because it's popular to not eat gluten. And I feel like putting a gluten-free label on a banana is trying to get the people who are doing it because they think it's cute.
Yeah. It's like going organic when we know it's already organic, right?
Right.
I don't know.
Well, organic, because like, for example, cucumbers, they may have grown this cucumber with that crazy chemical, but they didn't do that with this one. That's what makes it organic.
Yes.
Like,
I don't understand why it's $2 more.
Right, because it's literally
sense.
natural.
Like you literally put nothing in it, but you just planted the seed. But it costs more. Because wouldn't it cost you more to put chemicals? You got to pay for the chemicals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't the unhealthy stuff be cost more? It baffles me. I don't understand.
I guess they have to separate it from the other stuff. So they have to like do a whole nother separate planting area and they're gonna upcharge you for that, I guess. I have no idea. It doesn't make sense.
Well, because if a farm does both genetically modified and organic on the same thing, the genetically modified seeds will blow into the organic area.
Yeah, it has to
so
all that. So they're probably charging us for that crap, but
yeah. And I think Caitlin has the more valid point, but getting past that, you got to remember that Demi Lovato, like us, we think everybody has a vision issue. I think she might think that everybody has an eating disorder because that's what she talks about a lot. And a lot of people want to agree with Demi Lovato. And so she's really fighting for a bigger group than exists. And there might be a way for that store to section or redistribute their products so that people can go through without seeing some of that stuff if they care about those people, that the 1.5 million followers of hers, there's ways around it. And if she had addressed them one-on-one, there might have been a resolution. But fuck it, you're going to yell at me on Instagram and all of your followers are going to agree with you instantly. I'm not doing anything for you now.
I don't like that she just points the finger and doesn't take accountability. That pisses me because she's teaching people that are going through the same shit as her that's the way to heal. That's fucked up. That is not how you heal. That is wrong. That is wrong.
What she should have done, right? And I don't have an eating disorder. All I got is the blindness thing.
Right.
So
but that's still a disorder, and we still want people to notice us and pay attention and cater to us. We asked them to do, just like you guys do closed captioning, can you guys do audio description? I feel like she's trying to do the same thing. She did it the wrong way. Right. And she's not taking accountability. I hear you.
I feel like what should have happened is she should have been like, okay, I want frozen yogurt. I'm not sure how I'm going to react to this because I have a history, but I'm going to walk in and see what happens. And then as soon as she felt uncomfortable, she should have just left.
Yep.
And if she wanted to do a post about it, she didn't have to specifically attack that place, but she could post about diet.
She could have just been she could have generalized it.
She could have done a controlled, level-headed post about diet culture and how can be problematic to people with this blah blah blah, and hey guys, just be able to just know yourself. Like, she could have handled this so much better if she would have gone home and thought about it for a second.
Asked her fans if they are also triggered by these same things to prove to the place that it's a reason for them to redistribute the guilt-free stuff,
Yeah. Instead, she had an emotional reaction and she
blamed the servers, and I hate that. You had bad service, I think she said, and I just didn't like that. To me, it was like the employees aren't part of the problem here. You dragged them in for no reason. And if you're being irrational about it in the moment when you're having an anxiety attack, when you're being triggered, you're not the most responsive to reason. And I could see why somebody that couldn't accommodate her would be seen as bad service when, geez, they're accommodating a lot of people. Everybody in this group could find something to eat there. And I love that.
Now, I could be wrong about this part with the service thing, but most celebrities that are as big as her they call those little shops and they close them down for the time that they're there, just so the celebrity can go in there. That is like what most celebrities do that are that big, that have way too much paparazzi, that have security guards that are going to cause a scene, right? They usually shut them down for the 10 minutes that they're in the shop, and then they just reopen it because they know that, Demi, I could be wrong about that. I didn't do my research on that. But like 9 times out of 10, like I guarantee you, she was probably the only one in there with whoever she was with, and the server could have, probably easily helped. I don't know. I don't know the
Don't
situation.
they also have somebody that goes in first to check if there's a trigger and put like a sheet over it or something? I mean, if the star is that important, remove the cookies.
That's where Caitlin's point comes in. You need to learn how to control your trigger.
I agree.
You should be able to walk in that shop and ignore that sign.
And
because they're allowed to.
Do you think somebody's going to follow her around all day covering up signs? Nobody's going to do that.
I mean, that's true.
You pay me, Demi, and I'll do that for you the rest of your life.
Like the world doesn't revolve around you. I'm sorry. Right. And like, honestly, people are allowed to advertise however they want to advertise. They're allowed to advertise for people that are on diets or that look for like low calorie things. They're allowed to do that. And if she's triggered by it, then don't surround yourself with it. Yeah. I'm sorry. Self-awareness. If you know you're going to be triggered. Listen, I also I very much study like her whole freaking life because I'm into the addiction type stuff and her healing process and all that. Right. And I've met a lot of people that run rehabs, that run detox centers. I mean, I lived in Delray, Florida. Like I've seen it. I've been around it. I've worked with people in addiction. The closest people in my life are addicts. Right. Okay. I forget where I was going with this. I'll be back.
How long has she been healing if she's triggered by a guilt-free cookie? I mean, I've had addiction and I was triggered a little less and triggered a little less and triggered a little less until eventually I got past it. And there's still moments where I have a thought like, but there's nothing specifically triggering me,
Oh,
everybody has their own healing process though. It takes, like, for example, with your mourning process from going blind, there's some people who've been blind all their life and they're still, and then there's me and there's Kate who we lost our sight recently and we're like, fuck it.
Right.
So it depends on the person.
Right. And I agree. I agree with that. Like, no one's allowed to tell you how to heal. Right. But you're in the spotlight and you're going to be a role model for these people. Cool. Okay. Well, first of all, be careful what the fuck you're advertising and talking about, right? Like be careful about that shit. But also, I lost my fucking train of thought again. Damn it.
That happens.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Scorpio moon. God damn it.
Her, from the beginning, right? When even Shy brought it up where she was not allowed to be around any of this stuff. Her team had her on strict, like she wasn't allowed to have, and like she'd be in dressing rooms and they're not allowed to have candy. They're only allowed to have like fruit, and she couldn't have cake on her birthday, any of that stuff, right? Like it was very strict. And so now her new process of learning, she's trying to learn balance, where she's trying to learn not to feel guilty about having a piece of cake. Now she's allowed to have frozen yogurt. Now she's allowed to smoke weed. She's calling it California sober, right? So she's trying all of these options to learn balance so she doesn't really feel triggered. But clearly it's not working out for her. And she's being triggered by all of this shit. And here's the thing. She's trying to gain control over her life and her addiction. I'm sorry, but like the reason you have an addiction problem is because you don't have control over certain things in your life. That's just what it is. You have to release the control, right? And so when I went blind, the biggest thing I learned was releasing the control I was still trying to hold on to. I lost control of everything. I lost my job. I lost 99.9% of my friends. I lost my social life. I also lost my independence. I lost my vision, right? I had to relearn everything. And I'm still trying, like I wouldn't let people help me. I wouldn't hold anyone's arm, but I would trip and fall and then blame it on them, right? Because I tripped and fell. But like, that was my healing process. At some point, I was like, I got to let go of the control I'm still holding on to and fucking ask for help. I have to understand that, like, it's not their fault that I tripped and fucking fell because I didn't want to hold on to their arm because I wanted to have control over something.
Yeah.
Think about that. Accountability, self-awareness.
Definitely.
Release the control.
Daisy agrees with you, by the way, in the chat. And we're
Hey, Daisy girl.
I think
Hey, girl.
I'm gonna sum up what she said and basically
Or,
say
oh, wait,
some people get triggered by guilt of eating things, and they need that permission structure, the wording guilt-free, for their mind to be like, this is something I can eat without feeling guilty. And so I can see that too. I'm glad that it's there for people to not feel guilt about. So
I think
Right.
if we go back to Demi and her healing process, which obviously literally none of us really know.
right. How
Right.
could we?
Right.
Mhm.
Know her. But I think if I was from an outsider, from the things that she's put in the public, right? The mistake that was made with her was all the control that was taken away. Because even the things she should have had control over, she didn't. Literally
Right.
her whole life was up to other people. And so
Mhm.
now when she's trying to find that balance, she's going to struggle, and we're watching her struggle.
Yeah,
But the only thing is she doesn't get to do that privately.
you're right.
Mhm.
That's the life she signed up for.
Exactly. No,
Accountability.
I mean, I'm not saying anything. I'm just talking. You know,
Right.
she doesn't get to do that privately. That's the whole thing with all these celebrities. They don't get to do shit privately. And you're
Mhm.
right. They signed up for this job, they blew up, and now they have to deal with it. But
Mhm.
they're also still human beings, you know, and it's still a lot. And any one of us could be going through any of that crap. But she definitely needs to learn. And the problem is she's doing this now when she should have been able to do it when she was younger, and she couldn't.
Mhm.
That's true.
So we're just watching this fucking train wreck, and hopefully she makes it out of it. But
Yeah.
we just get to witness the mess, and you know, that's all it is, really.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I want her to heal. I've always liked Demi Lovato. I like
Mhm.
following her story. I love, her music. Like, I hope she heals correctly. It bothers me that she's supposed to be this big role model for people that have, eating disorders or addiction problems. And she's doing the wrong thing about it. I'm sorry. It's not right the way. And like, yes, she's learning, just like what you said, Shai. She's learning, and she's learning publicly in front of all of us, right? And like, maybe she didn't have the chance when she was younger, but she needs to start taking a little more. Like, the one thing I learned, like I said before, like when I went blind, the one thing I learned that I didn't have control over was my emotions. So I had to stop emotionally reacting to shit. That's why I isolated myself for a long time when I did lose my vision. I was going through surgeries because I needed to regain, like, my identity. I needed to learn how to control my emotions because I noticed
You didn't do that instantly, though. You made some mistakes along the way, and people gave you the
yes,
space to make those mistakes. She
but
just
then
has
I
a
was
lot less space to make them.
yes, and I wasn't in the public eye, and I understand that. But when I recognized I was, lashing out on people, I was blaming them for everything when it was really probably my fault. Like, I was playing the victim. When I
Mhm.
realized I was doing that and like throwing tantrums over the stupidest shit that made no sense,
Right.
like, I was like, wow, self-awareness. I got to stop doing this. I have got to isolate myself from people. And I'm not saying like she probably doesn't have that fucking option. She's a celebrity, right? But
Yeah.
stop advertising like the shit that you are, like with this whole froyo thing, whatever. Don't do that, man. Like, you're really triggering a lot of other people, and then you're making it okay for other people that are going through the same thing as you to act that way.
But you're
That's
further
not
you're further in the journey judging somebody that's back at the
That's what I
starting
was
line.
getting.
And
I'm not judging her. That's another thing. I'm just recognizing because,
Yeah.
and I'm not comparing my journey to hers. I don't know what addiction feels like. I don't know what eating disorder
yeah,
feels like.
But she
But I
made a
do know.
mistake. She made the mistake, and she's
And
gonna
I think
pay for that.
I think she sees the mistake because the way everybody's on her ass right now, she sees the mistake, and we have to give her the space to recognize
Yeah.
and fix.
And the bonus is she made this mistake so publicly that 1.5 million people are not going to make that mistake. And
Yeah,
so
they're like, yeah, exactly.
that's kind of cool. But I will say, I think her mistake was simply not picking up the phone and saying, hey, I was triggered by this. Is there anything we can do? She took it public. This didn't need to be in the public eye. This could have been addressed in a 5-minute phone call with the manager, you know?
And also, this whole, she tried it, the whole cancel culture thing. It doesn't work. Do you know that that shop doubled in revenue
Hell yeah.
because of her blow up?
Right.
It don't work. Just stop with the cancel culture already because it don't work.
Right. And for the record, I'm triggered by froyo. Like I
don't even like frozen
I want
yogurt.
ice
I
cream.
don't either.
I grew up
I think it's disgusting.
When froyo first came out. I was like, I don't like that. Like, no,
Right.
don't
It's
force me to
weird.
eat yogurt. I want
Do you
real
guys
ice
have
cream.
Sweet Frog?
Yes.
Mm-mm.
Hated it.
Yeah.
It's basically froyo, but
Yeah.
it's just, and then like you can go and there's like a bunch of different flavors of yogurt, and then you can put toppings and just like ice cream, but it's
Yeah.
it's weird.
Yeah. That's the
McDonald's
type of
started
shop I
making
think she was in.
McDonald's started making their shakes with froyo, you know, and I was just
Re-
like,
that's why.
"No."
Don't do that.
But I think Demi Lovato was pretty blatant about what she said, but what she's
Mhm.
going to be doing after that is pretty brave. How she handles that will
Mm-hmm.
determine who she's going to be, and
How she gonna come out?
that's how we all make mistakes, and we need the space to do those. Not from everybody, but at least from the people closest around us. And why didn't nobody protect her if they knew this? You know, why are you going into that shop if you know it's going to trigger you, honey? I'll go get it for you. That's
Maybe
Well,
it was a test.
No, I think it's because like if you guys listen between the new documentary and the last one, she wasn't. I already said, like, even Shy said it, like she wasn't allowed to have any of that shit around her, and so
Okay.
now she's trying to learn balance. She's trying to like learn that it's okay to have a dessert. She's trying to learn and like not feel guilty about it. She's trying
That's
to
cool.
learn like she can smoke weed instead of doing all these hard drugs instead because it's a little healthier for you, right?
Okay.
So she's trying to learn the balance, and hopefully it works for her. I don't know, but clearly it's just not with the yogurt. But
So that brings my next question. So you said the balance was weed. Let's rewind. Okay. To my understanding, well, what science says, or
Yes.
whoever, isn't weed a gateway drug?
yes, I have my
So
own
why-
opinions about that entire thing, and I will get
That's a,
shamed for the shit that I have to say about it. But yes,
Oh.
absolutely.
So why would they have? Shy.
that's a whole nother thing. And she even said, she's like, I know that this is controversial and it doesn't make sense to anyone. And like she's aware of what it looks like.
Yes.
Like she's fully aware. And it's a decision that she's making, and it's
Mhm.
her life.
Well, let's see
Right.
where this goes.
But right.
The way that she explained it in the doc was that cold turkey didn't work for her. Cold turkey just
Mhm.
pushed her over the edge. It made her go crazy, the
Binge.
worst of the.
Right.
Right.
So she's trying to allow herself something so that she
Mhm.
doesn't do that again, and she's seeing if it works for her. It's all a process, right?
It is. It's learning. It's lessons. Right.
Yeah.
And you know
but-
what? To be honest, I've met people that used to be heroin addicts and now all they do is smoke weed and it's worked for them and they haven't wanted anything more than that. So
Right.
like everybody's addiction and their less, it's different for everybody, it really is. Like I've met so many different types of people that it works for and then it doesn't work for.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And like, honestly, so me and my friend, her name's Caitlin, she's also a type 1 diabetic. And we talked about this where the balance thing, right? Because growing up, when your parents have full control over your eating and what they're making you or packing you for lunch, they're checking your blood sugars, they're in full freaking control of you when it comes to diabetes, right? Everything you eat, your doctor's appointments, everything. And then, and you're not like, a lot of our parents, because a lot of the diabetics that I do know and I've talked with, their parents were so strict that like we weren't allowed to sneak a treat. We weren't allowed to have one. There was no balance. It was strict, strict, strict. So then we binge when we get the chance. So when we're at school and we can get away with it, we'll sneak like a ice cream cone and no one's going to tell on us. Or we'll go to a friend's house and they have soda and candy and we'll just binge the shit out of it because they know that our mom isn't going to find out about it. And then we get sick from it, but we continue to do it. And then when we get real independence, where we get into high school or we have our own cars, we sneak, we do everything that we're not supposed to do. And then we lie about our blood sugars. We don't tell our parents what's really going on. We're letting our blood sugars run high. We're eating McDonald's after school. We're doing everything we're not allowed to do because we were never allowed balance growing up. We were only allowed to have this strict. And when you're 8 years old and you're sitting in a classroom and it's a kid's birthday and they bring in cupcakes and the whole class gets to have it, but you're not allowed to, that shit hurts as a fucking 9-year-old. And we did that our whole lives. So like, that's the same thing that Demi is trying to explain to people, right? Like she has to be around, she's in the public eye. She's a celebrity. She's probably around all of this shit, partying, drugs, drinking, birthday cakes, whatever it is. Right. And like, everyone's like, no. And then she has people up her ass 24/7. So now she's going to sneak it. And when she sneaks it, she's going to binge and then she's going to love it. And then she's going to keep going and it's going to get out of control. And that's how I went fucking blind. It got so fucking out of control that I didn't even treat my diabetes the way I was supposed to. I stopped caring about my body. I ate whatever the hell I wanted. I was drinking my face off. I partied and I didn't give a shit. I mean, I didn't have healthcare, which made it 10 times worse because there was no accountability anymore. I didn't take accountability for anything. But like now, after everything I went through and like losing my vision, and now I have, all these issues from my diabetes, my organs hate me, my feet, I can't feel hot and cold anymore. Like there's all these things that are going on, right? I throw up a lot of the times because I have to be I have gastroparesis, all this stuff. And now I'm learning it's okay to have Chick-fil-A like once, every month or something. It's okay to have a bite of a birthday cake because it's someone's birthday. It's okay for me to drink as long as I'm aware of like what my blood sugar is. I'm taking accountability. I'm drinking the right options for me. It's all about learning your balance. But at the same time, I don't have this addiction problem or that thing that's in your brain that, most addicts like they have, right? That makes them, feel guilty about it or whatever. Like it's different for her versus me. But I also like, it would be unfair for my mom to come into the school and bitch that stop handing out cupcakes in front of my 9-year-old because she's not allowed to have one and like make a fucking scene about it. That's not fair. That's not how that works. You have to accept the cards you're dealt. You have to accept that, like, I had to accept that I'm a diabetic. I have to accept that I'm blind and the world's not going to revolve around me. I'm the minority. It is what it is. It sucks, but like you can either play the victim your whole fucking life or you can take accountability, become self-aware and learn your lessons. I've learned I'm still learning my lessons, right? I fuck up every day. But at the same time, I'm taking accountability. I'm recognizing, hey, maybe this is what I should not be doing throughout the week versus what I was doing, right? It's the same type of thing.
We're 13 minutes out, by the way.
Okay.
Ready?
Wow,
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm done talking.
That's so funny. I just think that if there's five stages to recovery and you're in 5, but you used to be in 1 and Demi's in 1, there's all you can do is like, if she makes the same mistake again, if she goes to another froyo shop and starts yelling at him, yes,
right.
she's a bitch.
But you can't expect her to learn after, like, how many mistakes do you make before you learn the lesson?
Well,
nobody makes one mistake and then learns the lesson. She's gonna do it again. She's gonna do it again.
I don't
but
know.
Sometimes it's not enough for people. They have to keep learning, like she almost died.
But that's when you start losing support, is when you repeat the mistake, right?
She's gonna have to take the backlash from that then.
Right now she apologized and I'm like, okay, you made a mistake.
Yeah, her publicist told her to apologize. She didn't want to.
She taught a lot of people a lesson, and she's going to pay for that mistake. If she makes the mistake again, she's going to pay more and more. And if she doesn't make the mistake again, we'll all forget about it because she redeemed herself. So she's going to be in the part where Caitlin is, where she's going to be looking at other people saying, don't do that. You know what I mean? So I don't know Demi Lovato. I just, as a person, I feel bad for her because she went through a situation that she felt anxious about. And that alone makes me just want to give her a hug and say it'll be okay, you know?
And then not only did she feel anxious about it, then she got bashed.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
she made it public. She was like, am I right or are they right? And everybody was like, you're wrong, babe. You know?
See, but this is okay. This is my thing with stuff like everybody, because like I said, her intentions were good, right? And the way she went about it was right. But I don't know if you guys heard about the situation with Monique and Tyler Perry and Netflix.
No, what happened with Perry?
No, this was like 10 years ago. Oh, so okay, long story short, Netflix pays
yes, I know what you're talking about.
They pay their white artists, like, you know how like they have like a comedian on and they do a set, you know, Kevin Hart, and anyway,
for a special,
they pay the black comedians significantly less than they pay the white comedians. And she found this out and she was like, well, no, I'm not gonna do the show unless you pay me what they get. And they were like, no. And then so she blows up about it, gets upset, and she goes public with it, and everybody was like, shut up. Basically, they were like, so what? Steve Harvey, and I don't know if y'all see what he went through after he opened his mouth. He should have stayed quiet. Shut up. Steve
Best
Harvey,
advice. Shut up.
Breakfast Club, Tyler Perry, all left her hanging because they didn't want the same thing to happen to them, because she got blackballed for standing up. She was right, but the world told her she was wrong, but she was right.
Yeah.
So she ends up suing Netflix and wins. And now everybody's looking stupid with egg on their face. So I say that to say, Demi, she's right to an extent. She like I said, her intention is good. So in the long run, I feel like everybody's gonna be like, you know what, diet culture is fucked up, and then it's gonna be like, I said that years ago. I said that, and then it's gonna be like I just feel like people are so quick to be like, shut up, and I don't feel like anybody's really trying to understand. The same thing with us. How would we feel as the Black community, and we're trying to gain momentum, we're trying to get support, and everybody's like, fuck y'all blind, we don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like, but we prove them wrong, though. That's the difference. And we're not doing it in like the way that she did. And not for nothing, but like Demi was not right. She handled it so wrong. That's not being right.
True.
People are allowed
I don't
to gear and advertise towards people that are dieting. They're allowed to do that.
I don't go to a restaurant and yell at them because their menu's too small and it should accommodate me. I just deal with it and move on. Yeah.
See, but that's the problem too. I mean, don't yell at them. Let's not do that. You get more with sugar than you do with salt. But it's still, because this is how I feel about some of us in the Black community. Y'all for example, perfect example, with the legally blind and blind. Same thing, right? But people are like, no, legally blind is not the same thing. Yes, it is, because you're saying by law, I'm blind. Yes. Right? So I forgot where I was going with that.
You know what's funny about that is somebody that's 2020 looks down on somebody that's 2040, who looks down at somebody who's 2060, who looks down at 2080. You know, but it's all this giant spectrum, and we're all the same.
And we're all on it.
We're all on the same ski lift, right?
Right.
We're just at different places, and that's what bugs me. The same thing with autism or ADHD. It's a spectrum of symptoms, but we all get them from time to time. So we got to stop judging people for that stuff.
Right.
And that would, like, I have made that video on my TikTok, and that was my point. People, they try to lessen, like they try to make it, what's the word? Like, I'm blind, honey. I have a visual impairment. It's a problem. Excuse you.
We're talking?
Rude.
Well, he didn't know if you would see him from that far away, so he wanted to give you some audio. That's an audio description.
There is one thing I do want to say about the process, right? Like, in the lessons you learn and all this shit. So like the one thing that I did learn in a group session that I had for the blind group that I was working with, whatever. So we learned that there's 7 stages to blindness, right? Seven steps, right, to blindness, and it starts with, I don't remember all the steps, whatever. But at some point, it starts with like denial. Then it's like it just keeps going to like the 7 steps. Now we talked about
denial, mourning. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember steps. Go ahead.
Yeah.
But basically, what we were talking about is like you might make it to step 7, but then tomorrow you might fall back to step 2.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just happens. Like, and I understand that, and that's not what I'm like. I don't want everyone to think that I hate Demi and I'm judging her, and that's just not it. What I don't like is that she's like this big role model, and then she's like teaching people the wrong way, the way she handled it. Right. That's the one thing. But like, I also understand that she was sober for 5 years. Right. And then she fell back. It happens. We go through it with the 7 stages of blindness, right? Like some days we're at a 5, some days we're at a 1, and then some days we're at a 7. And it's just every day is a different day. Every day is a new lesson. And it's either you learn the lesson and you move on, or you keep repeating cycles.
Right. Is she going to repeat it, or is she not? And who taught her? Who taught her coping skills? Who taught her to manage her anxieties and angers and frustrations? You know, nobody.
Right.
At the end of the day, she's just a person.
Okay, so that brings me to my point, because you said a role model, right? It's the same thing when we be like, fuck them kids. Listen to me. Wait. Because Cardi B, for example, they're like, she's a role model. She doesn't even let her own kids listen to her music. Why? Because she's monitoring them. I'm your role model, right? You don't need to see that. Right. So me saying that, you're saying she's a role model for other people who are addicts. They should be their own role model.
Definitely.
You need to do it on your own. You need to find something for yourself. Because Demi is a human being. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh yeah, you're right. I was gonna say I've always felt weird about the whole role model thing. Like not even specifically Demi Lovato, but celebrities in general.
Yeah.
Like, oh, because you're in the public eye, you're all of a sudden a role model, and everything you do matters and is affecting somebody somewhere. I don't think that's fair.
I don't either.
Yeah, but you guys think about like our TikTok pages, right? Like there's a lot of blind people that come to because we're inspirational or we're role models to them, or they want to, share their story because we shared ours. They look up to us. You know what I mean? Yeah. And listen, everyone's going to have their own opinion, right? Like Demi has her own. That's what I do like about Demi. She has an opinion and she is not scared to share it. I love that. Right. She doesn't care what people, like she knows that she'll get haters, and she also knows that people are going to share the same opinion with her. And it's the same thing with us talking about our story on TikTok. People come to follow us for, wow, I'm echoing. What is that?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. People come to watch our pages for like motivation, or, like Elisa, that's how I met Elisa. You guys told me about her, and she was like, I started sharing my story because Caitlin Wackerman was sharing hers. And it's the same thing. Like Brittany, people come to follow you and Shy, and you know what I mean? Like it's kind of the same thing, whether you signed up for the part or not. People do look up to us, and they look up to celebrities because they relate.
Yeah. And that's why I said I've always been like on a line, like a teetering, because it's true. Once you're public, people are going to make their own decisions, whether they look up to you, whether they idolize you, whether they hate you, right. People are going to do what they're going to do. It just sucks because it's a little annoying and unfair to have to live your life because in a certain way, because certain people, I mean, look at all the freaking Disney celebrities and child celebrities where like, they're watching you, so you can't do this exorbitant lip you can't do. Like, that's annoying. And that's like a list of, I mean, it's like a teetering line for me where it's like, yes, I understand that you're a role model because you're in the public, but it's kind of unfair.
Why though?
Just a thing. It just sucks. That's all it is.
So what I was about to say before my headphones started acting crazy.
That was
my TikTok. Yes, it's inspirational, but there is a difference between inspiration and being a role model. I am not anyone's role model because I am not perfect. If you don't shut up, Mr. Train, I am not perfect. Right. And I don't claim to be. I'm glad that you continue to live your life because you see me doing it. That was the whole point. But for you to model your life after mine and do what I'm doing, I ain't say that. I ain't tell you to do that.
Well, what impresses
you gonna do it too?
What impresses you about Demi Lovato? Is it because she's rich or because she's fighting through her struggle? What
She's fighting through the
what
same struggle
what
that other people are.
inspires me about Britney? She does her makeup flawlessly, but yeah, there's other
I don't know
parts
about
of your
flawless.
there's other parts of your life that I'm not following, you know. I'm not taking that as like scripture, but what I'm saying is I love Caitlyn because she makes quiches and works out. That's inspiring to me, but I'm not inspired by Caitlyn's drinking. I don't go out and get a bottle or two of wine and drink those during the week because Caitlyn does it, you know. So you got to pick what you love about your role model and not take and incorporate everything about them, you know.
Mhm.
I stopped drinking throughout the week, just to throw that in there, but you're right. You're right.
So I'm inspiring you because I don't drink during the week, and you consider me a role model, and you're trying to be more like me.
I don't know
Exactly.
about the role model thing. I don't do the role model thing.
I don't
Exactly.
I ain't tell you to do what I do.
I try to find heroes that I can always meet and get to know. So I know a microbiologist, infectious disease, endocrinologist, whatever he is. He's a super scientist, and I love him. He joined the National Guard. We get to talk. He's like one of my heroes, you know. Those are
Mhm.
my role models. I don't pick celebrities because they have money that's my role model. I don't want to be like somebody because they have money. That's not what I'm trying to
Mhm.
get at, you know.
Oh, it's all so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 3 on the dot. I'm on my drop top, giving it you.
All right.
Aw,
I guess
that
that's
was a good show.
Love it. Thank you for listening to Inspirations Beyond Disabilities. Read the description portion of this podcast to find us everywhere and anywhere, even our official Twitter, our official Instagram. Sorry.
We haven't gotten to Twitter
Yes.
yet.
Mm.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
much,
Did we
guys.
stop recording already?
Nope, not yet. We could though.
Oh, okay.
I like Brittany to say goodbye. You know what I mean?